Hello and welcome. Today we're working on creating infographs within Excel. This is our first time we're going to use graphs, and so we're going to create one that's really pretty, an infograph. Now, I learned this from Leila Gharani, her video on infographic templates. So it has special Excel graphs. I learned this from her. I'm taking her idea and expanding a little bit with a column graphic and then a bar graphic. So her channel, I'll put a link to it below in the video. Her channel is excellent if you're trying to learn Excel, so I recommend that very, very highly. So how do we start with data and end up with a beautiful template like this, a beautiful infograph? The other thing this happens to have is, let's change June, and you see it's dynamic. It changes not only the data, but also which one is highlighted. So the one in purple is highlighted. And so it's really easy to read. There's no X axis or Y axis. It's just all very simple to read, and it catches your attention. So let's start with this data. And on this data, we need to build a table. So first we're going to do a column. We need a stack 1 and stack 2. We're going to make a stacked column, and we're going to put those two stacks together to make one column of 375. So I'm going to start with stack 2, which is, I'm going to arbitrarily pick 150. So now I'll just copy this down to 150. Let me show you how it works on the column chart. If we look at this column chart, we see that there's really two stacks on top of each other. There is a stack 1, and then the stack 2 is on top. And we need to make it all the same size because we're actually going to format copy a shape and graph a shape on top of that. And so we need stack 2 to be all the same size. So this is 150, and this is the stack 1 is the remainder. So we need to build this table with stack 2 is 150. So we just need to do math on this. So 375 minus the 150, and we're going to copy this down. So now instead of graphing the orders of 375 and 420, we need to graph stack 1 and stack 2, and this will add up. The 225 and the 150 will add up to equal the 375. Now, we also need to have a second. We're going to put it on a secondary axis. Max 1, max 2 will be the largest. So in this case, the largest is 600. We need to do a little if statement. And remember, if is going to be, so the if statement is going to be some kind of logic, and then what happens if it's true, and then what happens if it's false. What do you put if it's true, and what do you put if it's false? So we're going to use this logic, the if statement. So on max 1, let me do the formula builder here so you can see what's going on. The logical test is if the 375 is equal to, and we'll put the max function, the max, and I need the column here, the entire column. I need to make it absolute value with F4. Well, what do you do if that is true? If 375 is the largest of that stack, or the largest of those orders in those 6 months, then we're going to grab the 225. If it's not, we'll grab the 0. So we should be able to copy this down, and it should hit right here at the 600. Let's copy it down. So what it's saying is only pull out the largest, which is the 600, which stack 1 would be 450. Max 1 would correspond to the 450. We're going to do the same thing for max 2. That's just going to be the top, and it's going to say if it's the largest one, grab the 150. If it's not, then just put a 0. So let's do this if statement again. If the 375 is equal to the max function of that column, make it absolute value, close your parentheses. What is the value if it's true? The value if it's true is, we'll put the 150. If it's false, we'll put 0. And that one's certainly not the largest. And we'll copy this all the way down. So at 600, it's pulling the 450 and the 150 from max 1 and max 2. What if we change the June to 700? Well, then the max 1 and max 2 would hit on the 700 and pull 550 and the 150. Remember, these two add up to equal the 700. All right, so now we have a table that we're going to do our first, which is a column infographic. So we need to do a stacked column. So let's start with that. So I'm going to highlight everything. And then I'm going to go to Insert and then go over to the columns here. And I want to select the stacked column. I'm going to select the stacked column. I'm going to drag it down here so we can see it. And we're going to work with this stacked column. First of all, what we want to do is I'm graphing everything. So two ways we can do this. Do you see this blue down here? Well, that's the orders. I don't want to graph the orders. So you can select all these and hit delete. And now we're only graphing stack 1, stack 2, max 1, and max 2. Now there's another way to do it. I'm going to do undo. If you select data, if you right click in the graph and do select data, you see it says orders, and we can delete it that way, and you can see I'm only graphing stack 1, stack 2, max 1, max 2. So this graph now is made up of this data, not including orders. Now, one thing we want to do is we want to take, and watch how graphs work. If you select the stack 1 here, it's going to select them all. If you select it again, it only selects the one individual stack. So if you select them the first time, it selects all. So what I want to do is I want to select and put these on the secondary axis. So if we double click here, we're going to get a format, our chart here, we can format. So I want to select here, and I want to put this on the secondary axis. The max I want to put on the secondary axis, and I'm going to put the max 2 also on the secondary axis. So this gives us our dynamic, our range that is dynamic. It will change. Now these are the default colors. We'll change the colors here. The other thing we want to do is let's increase the gap width. So if we're at the series option, the gap width is 150%. Let's make it, let's say 35%. And it's going to make it a wider, so we can put our label inside. Now I also need to select the max and make it the same, exact same width. If you did 35, do 35. If you did 50, do 50. So this, we can see, is a graph. It's a stacked graph. We can see how it's stacked. Let's change the June to 700 and let's see what happens. Now sometimes we need to refresh. I'm going to slide it down and let it refresh. So there it works. We have June now as the highest one, and we can see how it works. All right, so I'm going to undo, go back to it, make it refresh here a little bit. Okay, now one thing I want to do is I want to clean it up and then take out all the X and Y axis and all the labels and everything. I just want just the chart, just the column chart, and I'm going to put labels in it. So let's click on this and let's format it. I'm going to use a gray color. You can use whatever color you want. I'm trying to minimize the other ones and kind of highlight the one that's the largest. I'm going to use a gray color. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the top. And if you use the same gray color, then it looks like it is. Did I use the same? No. I have to use the same one. So the gray, and do you see what happens here? It looks like it's one column instead of being two different columns that are stacked on top of each other. I'm going to do a purple, just because that's what I had, but you can use whatever color you want. I'm going to use a rich purple here and do the same thing for the very top, another purple. Okay, now we're to the point where we can clean up the data set, and let's change the title. This is the number of users per month, so I'm going to call it users per month. And we can make this bigger. We can change the font. We can do all sorts of things here. So let me change the font. Let me make it bigger. Let's make it bold. Okay. Now I want to get rid of, if I select inside the graph, I'm going to get rid of these horizontal lines just with delete. I can get rid of the y-axis. I can get rid of the z-axis. I can even get rid of the x-axis and the legend. Now within this, we also have a line. So if you click out of it, you see there's a line that's surrounding it, so you know it's a graph. But we can get rid of that line. Just say no line. And there we have a beautiful graph that has no data in it. We don't know what it means or anything. So let's add our data. So if you right click, we're going to add data labels, and it suggests the stack 1 data. So we're going to edit it, so select them all. And then we have some text options. Let's see, label options. Yes, label options. We're going to do the category name, which is January, February, March. And we want to do that at the bottom, so we'll put inside base. We're going to now highlight this, change the font, make it bigger. Let's make it a 20-point font. Let's do bold, and let's make it a white. So you can see automatically we have a good-looking data set that now has January, February, March, and so it's easy to read. We don't have to have the x-axis down at the bottom or the legend. Now, how do we do the top? Let's do the label at the top. So we're going to do add data labels. It's going to say it's the 150. Well, the 150, let's edit it, make it larger, and then we'll show you how to get the numbers. I'm going to put the same font I had, 20 points, bold, white. Okay. Now, if you select each individual one, it's not obvious that you can use the formula, but you certainly can use the formula. So if you'll just point, just equals, and then point to the 375, then that gives us that first one. Well, it should, let me make it refresh here. Should be, there we go. It just takes a minute to refresh sometimes. So if you'll just wait, then we did it correctly. So the second one is going to be equals, and then point to the 420. The next one will be the 600. We're just pointing to each one. Equals the 510. This is going to equal the 490. The last one, now this is kind of procedural, right? But it will be dynamic because now it has the formula attached to it. All right, so what we have is we are almost finished. We just need to figure out how to do the shape at the very top. So this looks excellent. We can do it center, inside the end, inside the base, however you want to do it. I'm happy with center. So here's let me show you how to do, and I learned this once again from the Leila Gharani video. We can do a shape, okay? So down here somewhere where you want to hide it, you can put it off somewhere else. Let's figure out a shape. And so let's go to Insert, and then Shape, if you'll do the drop down, and slide all the way down to the flow chart here. And look at this flowchart symbol called the delay symbol. And we're going to just draw it here, the delay symbol. Now we want it to be, it's pointing to the right. We want it to be straight up and down, so we need to change it to 270 degrees. It is blue with a line, so we want to take off the line, no line. We want to do a solid fill of the gray that we had. That's the same color gray. And we're going to copy now and paste another one, and we want it to be the purple. So instead of the gray, we want this one to be purple. Now here's what we have to do. We're going to copy the gray one, go to the top, make sure they're all selected, and we'll do paste, Control or Command V, and do the same thing with purple. Copy, and then select, and then paste. So what we have is we have a infograph. It's a column infograph. It has a rounded shape on the top, and if we change numbers, let's change June to 700, you see it changes everything. And this is a beautiful infograph that you can use anytime you need to show data, and it doesn't look like a plain old Excel graph that you're used to. Okay, now we're almost finished. We need to do a bar rather than a column. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this tab. I'm going to put move or copy. I'm going to move to the end, create a copy. And so now I have I'm going to call this is the bar graph on the video that we're working on. And we have everything built here. So I think we should be able just to edit this, and it makes it a really easy way to edit and do the bar graphic infograph rather than the column. All right, so if you click somewhere in the graph, right click and change the chart type. We want it to be a stacked bar rather than a stacked column. So I'm going to select that. Now this is not excellent because we've graphed our shape going up and down rather than left to right. We could flip it, but let's see how we can edit just a little bit. Now the purple is no longer on the secondary axis, so let's make it a secondary axis. That purple is going to be secondary axis. Now this looks strange because we've graphed a shape going north and south kind of thing. So let's get rid of these shapes. We don't have to get rid of them. We can leave them. Let's add a shape. And so what would what would be a good shape that goes right to left or left to right and points maybe to the right? Well, let's do insert and let's do shapes. And one thing you could do an arrow if you want to do something like that. Under the block arrows, I found a pentagon works pretty well. So let's do a pentagon. And let's make a shape. Once again, it's blue with a line, so get rid of the line. We need to make one of them the gray color that we've used. And then we need to copy and then paste and make it the purple color. So that one is going to be purple that we've used. We can also change color. If we want to change colors now, let's change it to a red. Maybe we want to do red on this one. So we just need to change it to a red. Change that one to a red. Okay, we change them both to red. It takes the shape out of that. So we're going to make that right arrow, make it red. So we should be able to copy into the shape, and now we have 375. We have arrows pointing to the right. I've got a shape, copy, and make the red arrows pointing to the right. So now we have an infograph, January, February, March, April, May, June, that has the numbers and its infograph, and it's a different shape. Now there is a legend at the top. We're going to get rid of that. Now one thing you notice is we have January, February, March. When it does a bar chart, it starts and it kind of does it in reverse order. There's a way to do this on the chart over here in the formatting the chart to flip the order, reverse the order. I found that causes me problems, and I'm not sure why. So if you want to change this, stack the table, then change the table rather than changing the chart. So let's do this. Let's go to data and let's do sort. We're going to sort on the column month, and it says A to Z or Z to A. A to Z we don't want to alphabetize the months, or either in reverse or forward alphabetical order, let's check on custom list. You see on this custom list it has Sunday, Monday, January, February. Well, if we click on this doesn't seem to help. But if we click on it again, it gives us in reverse order. So then we can reverse order June, May, April, January at the bottom. So what happens is, we'll slide it down so it redraws the graph. We have January, February, March, April, May, June in the order we might want to see it. We might want to see January at the top and June at the bottom. All right, so this is how you do infographs. Thanks to Leila Gharani. Check out her video, check out her channel. And what we did, we took a really simple data set like this, did a little table, came out with a pretty dynamic infograph that is a column and a pretty dynamic infograph that is a bar. I think that's really helpful, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.